Jan, before we talk about Iowa women's basketball, I think America needs to know this, and that's one, you grew up in Kimballton,
Amen.
Iowa.
God's country.
But two, and this is amazing to me, that you scored nearly 66 points a game as a high school senior.
Yes, I did. I still had friends. I would like everybody to know that. We all had our roles.
Explain how that happened.
Well, it was the old 6-on-6 game. If you're a basketball purist or enthusiast, you've studied that version. And it's basically 2 games of 3-on-3. If you were a shooter, you couldn't cross the half-court line. There was 3 of you here. Your defense was on the other line. Shooters were called forwards. Defense were called guards. So you got 2 dribbles, whether you were a shooter or a defender, and if it went in, the referee passed it up to his buddy, and the other team played 3-on-3. So you could score pretty fast in that game.
It's clear, based on your roots, that you love the game.
I do.
Where does that love start?
Well, I think the great state of Iowa, it's been pretty progressive. If you study, it can be seen as a flyover state, but if you study how different laws were enacted, but most importantly to your question, was we supported girls basketball in the early 1900s. My grandmother in 1921 was MVP of the girls' state tournament. And she had a biblical name. Her name was Dorcas Anderson, but her nickname was Lottie because she scored a lot of points. So when she became MVP, I think they won 18-14 or 20-16, but she'd have 16 out of the 20. So growing up, I saw that she had in her house a Hall of Fame trophy, Hall of Fame of Iowa. And the story goes, I told my mom when I was a little kid, I said, I'm going to get one of those someday. And my mother said, I bet you will. So I think the love started that my grandmother got to play, because there was a lot of people's grandmothers of, friends my age, no way would they have been allowed to play a sport. Even certain sections of Iowa, there are records that state the male administrators thought it was too physical and the young girls shouldn't sweat that much.
When you think about the journey, when you're an assistant for 31 years, and then you take over this head coaching job for a legend and someone that you work for, Lisa. You've said that being the head coach, it's a little lonely at the top. It's like being the CEO.
Right.
How do you take on that role and still be yourself?
Right. I think that was the biggest question going into last year, right? Certainly everybody was kind of wondering, and I wasn't wondering, but I didn't know, right? You don't know until you actually sit there. And, all the years I'd worked with Lisa and along with Jenny Fitzgerald, I was as close to that chair as you could get. And so when I got it, the only thing that made sense to me is you just kind of have to do it your way and be authentic. I had a great role model and teacher in my best friend, one of them, Lisa Bluter. And then you just kind of roll with it. And, through all the ups and downs and twists and turns, I think, a year ago to now, I just think the biggest word is I'm a lot more comfortable. You actually won more games in your first season than Lisa Bluter did in her first season. Was there a text or phone call when you passed her mark? No, but there should have been. I should have said, Lisa, I think you owe me a good gin and tonic
Still
for
could
that.
happen.
It could. Lisa, she might, I might have to turn her, check up with her on that and say, I think she owes me one. But no, she was just nothing but support. Right. And, she was navigating, this past year, learning, how to be a retiree. And, the coolest thing about this year, the only time I really ever heard from Lisa or Jenny Fitzgerald was when the chips were down. Like that's when, like, you good? You all right? After a loss, a tough one. And I think that's just the measure of great friendship. And certainly when we won, the celebrations. But, yeah, they've been there. We've been together through all of it, thick and thin. And this year, we all had to keep our distance a little bit to learn this new role.
Season tickets are sold out for a third straight year.
You believe it? It's unreal.
It's amazing to see. You're at the forefront of this. You see the community.
Yeah.
What is the appreciation level when you walk out of a tunnel and constantly see a full house?
It really, my friends will tell you I'm usually not at a loss for words. I am when I walk out. And I don't think there's been a game where I don't have a lump in my throat or my eyes well up with just the appreciation. And I am forever grateful for everything that this fan base did. Ever since we've been at Iowa, we've had great crowds, but certainly in the Caitlyn Clark era, that senior year to sell out. But for our fans to hold last year, when Caitlyn graduated and Kate Martin, Gabby, that whole crew, and certainly the great Lisa Bluter, for them to hold when everybody said all the crowds would go away, but they had us, were with me. That was wonderful. And then this year, boy, what a moment to do it 3 years in a row. I'm just so grateful.
Let's talk about Hannah Stuelke. What does she mean to this program on and off the court?
Well, I think Hannah right now is arguably the face, and what makes it very fun for our Iowa fans, speaking of them, she's born and raised 30 minutes away. So she was growing up as a Hawkeye, right? Came to our camps when she was little and has really, lived this dream. And now to have her be a senior and this, to be, arguably her team, for her to put an exclamation point on a really, really great career. But now she can lean into that leadership a little bit more if she needs to, right? And she's willing to do that. So I'm just excited for her and for Kylie Feuerbach and Taylor McCabe. They've just been really a great group of seniors. We have another one with Jada Jimfy. But Hannah's leadership and Kylie's and Taylor, they've just really, really been rising here, and certainly Jada too.
I know it's easy to, from the outside, people think, oh, it's just easy to be Big Ten head coach. You got that kind of a job,
right,
and the brand and all that. It's really hard.
Yeah, that it is. Yes.
You're in an incredibly difficult league. Mm-hmm. When you're coming off of Lisa retiring and Caitlyn and her legendary career, and now people are out there saying, okay, is there going to be a hangover, or is there going to be a drop-off and whatnot? I know you hold your program to a certain standard. How did you manifest, okay, we know what CC meant to everything that this program did. We have to move forward. How would you break that down?
I think I believe to my core. I'm so grateful for all of my experiences, but I also realize that, it's all about the future and the now. And so moving into the role I was in, new head coach last year, and leaving all that we had left behind, that was going to be important because there was going to be a lot of people talking about what happened, what was then, and who was there. And I really used an analogy of, taking down the rearview mirror in our minds. And we were just looking through the windshield because everything that was ahead is what we were going to be a part of. And so I just tried to keep using that forward. Every now and then we needed a side mirror, but just not the rear view mirror. And I think they really appreciated that. I just always tried to, anybody who would listen, to let that team be who they were and not have the comparisons to the year before. But certainly knowing the standard that has been set. And that's the thing we talk about every day, the culture at Iowa, the standard that's been set, the we over me, if you want to be cliche, but that's really what Iowa's always been built on. We've been a really great culture team, and we've always had a few stars that have led the way, but it's the role players that have really helped us, push thresholds.